October 9th, 1942. RAF Airfield, Duxford, England. R6 41 hours. The fog sits low across the runway, heavy and wet, clinging to everything like a stubborn ghost. You can hear the distant thrum of engines warming up, muffled by the cold morning air. Oil fumes mix with the sharp scent of damp grass. Ground crew move like silhouettes through the mist, shouting instructions you can barely hear. A group of British RAF pilots stand near the dispersal hut, leather jackets pulled tight, helmets tucked under their arms. Their breath clouds in the chill as they stare at a strange new aircraft parked near the hangar. Sleek. Long-nosed. American. The early model P-51 Mustang. Flight Lieutenant Arthur Kingsley squints at it with open skepticism. So this is the American miracle machine, he mutters, sipping his tea, voice dripping with sarcasm. Looks more like a greyhound with wings. Pilot Officer George Elwood chuckles. I flew one yesterday. She's fast on the deck, I'll give her that. But at altitude? She gasps like a dying horse. The group bursts into laughter. Underpowered, one of them says. Climbs like a brick, another adds. Give me a Spitfire any day. Kingsley nods in agreement. The Yanks mean well, but they don't understand our skies. The Luftwaffe won't be losing sleep over this thing. The pilots chuckle again, shaking their heads, as if the Mustang was some harmless curiosity. But one man, standing slightly apart, isn't laughing. Captain James Leland, a USAAF liaison officer, watches the British reaction with tightening jaw muscles. He finally steps forward. You haven't seen what she can be, he says quietly. Kingsley raises an eyebrow. And what is she now? He asks. Leland pauses, the fog curling around him. A promise, he replies. A promise waiting for the right heart. Kingsley scoffs. A promise won't get you to Berlin and back. Leland doesn't answer. He just looks at the Mustang, its Allison engine ticking softly as it cools. Somewhere deep inside that long nose is a secret no one has discovered yet. Not today. Not yet. But soon, the test flight. A whistle pierces the air. A ground crew chief waves the pilot toward the aircraft. The Allison-powered Mustang sits alone in the fog, its canopy glistening with dew. The pilot climbs in, buckles himself in place, and begins the warm-up checklist. The engine sputters. Coughs. Then comes alive with a smooth mechanical growl. The RAF pilots watch, unimpressed. Elwood smirks. Listen to that. No roar, no punch. Just a kitten trying to sound like a lion. Kingsley grins. Let's see if she can get off the ground before running out of breath. The Mustang rolls down the runway and lifts into the mist, disappearing as if swallowed by the sky. Leland watches it go, hands in pockets, jaw set with quiet frustration. He knows the aircraft is better than this. He knows the British are judging it too soon. The Mustang climbs into the grey. Above the clouds, the pilot pushes the throttle. The aircraft shudders, struggling as the thin air squeezes every bit of power from the Allison engine. The pilot's voice crackles over the radio. Climb rate poor, altitude performance dropping, feels like the engine is suffocating. On the ground, the RAF pilots exchange knowing looks. Kingsley sighs. Underpowered and overrated. A pretty machine with nothing behind it. But Leland hears something else in the radio transmission. Not failure. A limitation. A limitation that can be removed. He turns toward the hangar where a Merlin-powered Spitfire sits in silence, its iconic engine cooling in the morning air. A thought begins to form. A dangerous thought. A brilliant one. What if the Mustang didn't need more wings? What if it just needed a different heart? The mockery grows. When the Mustang lands, it taxis back with its canopy sliding open. The pilot climbs out, shaking his head. No power above 15,000. She's fast down low but useless in the alt fights. Elwood smirks. Then she's useless where it matters. Kingsley adds, well, that settles it. Americans build good cars, terrible fighters. More laughter. But Leland isn't laughing. He's staring at the Mustang as if seeing it for the first time. The shape. The aerodynamics. the potential. The aircraft is a blade with no edge. Yet, he murmurs to himself, if only she had the Merlin. Kingsley overhears. The Merlin? The Spitfire engine? You can't just bolt a British heart into an American body. Leyland smiles very slightly. Maybe we can. Kingsley laughs. Impossible, madness. If the Mustang ever makes it to Berlin, I'll eat my flight helmet. Leyland turns toward him. Save some salt, he says, because you may need it. A phone call that changes history. Hours later, Leyland sits alone in the comms room, rotary phone pressed to his ear. His voice is low, urgent. Yes, I know it sounds insane, but the airframe is perfect. She just needs a better engine. He listens. No, not an experiment, not a theory, a necessity. Another pause. Yes, the Rolls-Royce Merlin, the same one in the Spitfire Mark 10th. He glances out the window at the fog-covered field. Give me one Mustang, one engine, one team. He leans closer, voice tightening. And I'll give you the fighter that takes us to Berlin. He hangs up and steps outside. The fog is lifting. Sunlight cuts through in thin golden rays. Kingsley walks past, smirking. Still dreaming of miracles, Captain? Leyland smiles faintly. Not dreaming, preparing. Kingsley shrugs. Well, good luck polishing that American toy. Leyland looks at the Mustang again. He doesn't see a toy. He sees the weapon that will escort bombers through the heart of the Reich. A weapon no one believes in. Yet. But the world is about to learn what happens when the right engine meets the right airframe. At the right moment in history, the fog has finally lifted by afternoon, revealing long shadows stretching across the Duxford airfield. Mechanics move between aircraft with toolboxes swinging at their sides, the metal clinking rhythmically. It feels like any other wartime day. But for Captain James Leyland, today is the start of something no one else can see yet. He strides toward Hangar 3, where a single Mustang has been rolled inside. Its long wings extend across the dim interior like a sleeping predator. Two engineers wait beside it, arms crossed, expressions half curious and half unconvinced. Engineer Harris speaks first. Captain, I hope you know what you're asking. This isn't a simple job. A Merlin engine isn't built for this frame. Leyland nods. I know. That's why it will work. Harris raises an eyebrow. That makes no sense. Leyland taps the Mustang's fuselage. This plane doesn't need brute force. It needs altitude, power, and breath. The Merlin gives both. The second engineer, Sims, circles the plane slowly. Spitfires climb. Mustangs glide. You're trying to fuse two different philosophies. Leyland smiles. That's the beauty of it. The men exchange looks. Skepticism hangs heavy, but so does intrigue. Behind them, the large hangar doors rumble shut, bathing the space in slanted afternoon light. Preparing the impossible. The Mustang sits stripped open, its Allison engine removed and resting beside the aircraft like a discarded organ. Tools scatter the concrete floor. Paperwork hangs from clipboards. The air smells of grease and warm metal. Sims wipes his forehead. Even if we manage to fit the Merlin, the air scoop, the coolant system, the intake, everything changes. Leyland nods. And every change makes this plane what it was meant to be. Harris snorts. Meant to be? It barely gets off the ground past 15,000 feet. Leyland crouches beside the empty engine bay. Because the wrong heart is beating in it, swap the heart, and you unleash what's already there. The room goes quiet. Leyland stands again. Gentlemen, we don't need a fighter that's good at one thing. We need a fighter that can guard bombers all the way to Berlin and back. Nothing we have can do that now. The engineers know he's right. The 8th Air Force is losing bomber crews at terrifying rates. Deep penetration missions are almost suicide. Harris finally exhales. All right then, let's try the madness. The first fit. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine sits on a suspended lift, gleaming slightly under the lamps. Its pipes and fittings reflect faint gold as mechanics position it over the Mustang's open bay. Sims taps the cowling brackets. 2 millimeters off. If we force it, we crack the frame. Leland leans in. Then don't force it, make it fit. Slowly, carefully, the Merlin lowers until it rests inside the bay. It is almost poetic. Like it belongs there, even though no one believed it would. Harris steps back, stunned. Lord, it fits. Sims laughs weakly. It actually fits. Leland smiles. Now give her lungs she can breathe with. The team moves fast. New air intake. Reworked cooling system. Different exhaust stacks. Modified fuel lines. This is not repair work. This is rebirth. Hours pass. Sweat drips. Tools clatter. Notes are scribbled. By sundown, the Mustang stands complete, its new engine silent but powerful. A British pilot walks by, spots the aircraft, and stops mid-step. What in God's name have you done to that thing? Leland answers calmly. Improved it. The pilot snorts. You Americans and your optimism. Leland nods toward the cockpit. Go on. Keep laughing. But soon enough, this machine will fly escort missions no Spitfire can reach. The pilot shakes his head and leaves. Leland watches the Mustang glowing faintly under the hangar lights. The shape is the same. The soul is not. Something is different now. Something alive. Something waiting. A test no one should witness. Late that night, when most of the airfield has gone quiet, Leland returns alone. He walks past the sleeping aircraft until he reaches the Mustang. He places a hand on the cold metal. Tomorrow you show them what you are. He climbs into the cockpit. The leather seat creaks under his weight. The instrument panel glows dimly from a portable lamp. Outside, the wind brushes the hangar doors, making them groan softly. Leland closes his eyes. If this works, bomber crews will live. If it fails, he will be responsible for wasting precious time and resources. But somewhere deep inside, he knows the truth. The P-51 was never a joke. It was never a toy. It was a blade waiting for the right edge. And tomorrow, that edge will meet the sky. But dawn brings something no one expects. A Spitfire squadron commander storms across the airfield, anger on his face, shouting Leland's name. He has heard rumors. He knows what was done. And he is not happy. Because if the Mustang succeeds, the pride of British aviation may no longer be the king of the sky. October 12, 1942. Duxford Airfield. Hoist 3 hours. A hard wind sweeps across the runway, carrying the smell of wet earth and burning fuel. Mechanics tighten scarves around their faces. Pilots grip their helmets against the gusts. The sky is a pale, washed-out blue, the kind that feels like it is waiting for something. And today, everyone is waiting. A crowd of RAF pilots gathers around the Mustang with folded arms and skeptical eyes. Among them is squadron leader Charles Whitmore, a decorated Spitfire ace whose opinion carries weight across the airfield. He steps forward, boots crunching on gravel. So the rumors are true, he says, voice sharp. You Americans actually stuffed a Merlin into this airframe. Captain Leland stands beside the Mustang, calm, hands behind his back. We didn't stuff anything, he replies. We improved it. Whitmore circles the aircraft, inspecting the modified cowling, the rerouted exhaust stacks, the new intake design. His expression shifts from amusement to suspicion to something dangerously close to respect. But he hides it well. You've created a hybrid, Whitmore says, an experiment. Leland shakes his head. No, a solution. The RAF pilots laugh softly. Whitmore's eyes narrow. And you truly believe this machine will climb like a Spitfire and run like a Mustang? Leland meets his gaze. I believe it will do more. Whitmore folds his arms. Then prove it. The engine starts. Leland climbs into the cockpit. The RAF pilots fall silent, their laughter replaced with cautious anticipation. He flicks the master switch. The instrument panel glows. Fuel pumps hum. The airfield seems to hold its breath. Leland presses the starter. The Merlin engine coughs once, twice, then erupts into a clean, powerful roar that echoes across the entire airfield. Pilots instinctively step back. The sound is unmistakable. Sharp. Aggressive. Alive. Whitmore's eyes flick upward. That is a Merlin, he murmurs. But hearing a Merlin is one thing. Seeing what it can do in this airframe is another. Leyland gives a signal to the ground crew. Chocks out. The Mustang inches forward, propeller slicing through the morning air with increasing speed. Its new engine growls with confidence. Whitmore steps back from the runway edge. This will be interesting. The takeoff. Leyland pushes the throttle forward. The Mustang leaps ahead, faster than before. The wheels skim the runway. Air clings to its wings. Then it lifts. Smooth. Effortless. Powerful. The RAF pilots watch in stunned silence as it climbs at a sharper angle than any Mustang has ever climbed before. Whitmore squints. It shouldn't be doing that, he mutters. But it is. The Mustang climbs higher. Faster. Stronger. At 15,000 feet, the Allison engine would have gasped, struggling for oxygen. But not today. The Merlin keeps pulling. The climb doesn't falter. The roar doesn't weaken. At 20,000 feet, the Mustang is still climbing like a predator chasing prey. A murmur spreads through the pilots on the ground. Impossible. No Mustang climbs like that. It's keeping pace with a Spitfire Mark II. Look at the rate. Good Lord. Whitmore's jaw tightens as he watches the aircraft streak across the sky with the confidence of a machine, finally given its true purpose. The sky test. Leyland levels out and pushes the Mustang into a high-speed run. The plane doesn't tremble. Doesn't gasp. Doesn't hesitate. It slices the air cleanly, its Merlin-powered roar echoing through the atmosphere. He dives. Rolls. Pulls into a tight turn. The aircraft obeys with precision, grace, and raw speed. Then he radios the ground. Climb test complete, beginning full throttle run. Whitmore listens in silence. The Mustang tears across the cloud tops, faster than most RAF pilots have ever seen it move. A Spitfire pilot whispers, "If that thing has the fuel range they say it does." He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to, because every man there knows what it means. A fighter that climbs like this, and flies as far as they claim, would change the entire war in the air. The landing. Leyland brings the Mustang down smoothly. It touches the runway with the grace of a machine completely reborn. The crowd of RAF pilots walks toward it cautiously, as though approaching something alive. Leyland climbs out, removes his helmet, and takes a breath. Whitmore stands directly across from him, face unreadable. The tension between them is thick enough to cut. Finally, Whitmore speaks. "You said it would climb." Leyland nods once. "It did. You said it would run." "It did." Whitmore steps closer, voice low. "You said it would do more." Leyland tilts his head. "And it will." Whitmore looks at the Mustang again. This time, there is no mocking smile. Only calculation. "How far can it really go?" he asks quietly. Leyland answers with one sentence. "Far enough to escort bombers to Berlin." Whitmore blinks. If that is true, everything changes. Leyland looks up at the sky, the sound of the Merlin still echoing in his ears. It's time something changed. But the world has not seen anything yet. Not until this new Mustang meets the Luftwaffe. And the Luftwaffe has no idea a new predator has just entered its sky. November 5th, 1943. Over the North Sea. 22,000 feet. The wind at altitude is a living creature. It doesn't blow. It claws and bites at metal, hungrily tearing across wings that dare to enter its domain. The bomber formation stretches for miles, a long river of silver shapes glinting in the pale winter light. B-17s and B-24s rumble forward, engines pulsing in perfect rhythm, their bellies filled with bombs bound for Germany's industrial heart. Above them, sitting like watchful hawks, fly the escorts. Not Spitfires. Not Thunderbolts. P-51 Mustangs. The new Merlin-powered variants. Kingsley, the once skeptical British pilot, now sits in a Mustang cockpit for the very first time. The engine hums like a living thing beneath him, smooth and confident. He speaks into the radio. Blue leader to escort group, stay tight. Enemy radar will have us soon. His wingman, Elwood, replies. Unbelievable that we're even this far out. Spitz would already be turning back for fuel. Kingsley smiles despite himself. So would anything else. He looks down at the ocean far below, knowing they are flying deeper into enemy territory than any RAF fighter has ever escorted bombers before. Today is the day they find out whether the Mustang is miracle or myth. Contact. A warning crackles through the radio. Bandits. 11 o'clock high. Multiple contacts. Kingsley shifts in his seat. His gloved hand tightens around the stick. Eyes open. Here they come. Out of the sunlight sweep dark shapes. Sharp-winged. Fast. Predators. Messerschmitt Bf-109s. Focke-Wulf 190s. The Luftwaffe. They dive toward the American bombers like falcons descending on helpless prey. But this time, the bombers are not helpless. Kingsley pushes his throttle forward. The Mustang responds instantly, climbing with a power that even he didn't expect. The Merlin engine roars, smooth but deadly. Elwood whistles into his mic. Good grief. She climbs better than a spit at this altitude. Kingsley grins. Now you believe in her. The first engagement. The German fighters streak toward the leading bombers, guns sparkling with orange flashes. Before they can close the distance, Kingsley's Mustangs sweep in. He lines up behind a Bf-109, the crosshairs sliding over the enemy canopy. He fires. The Mustang's 6.5 mins erupt with a steady, punishing roar. The German fighter bursts into flame and spirals downward, trailing smoke. Kingsley banks hard left. Scratch one. Elwood's voice cuts in. Two more on your right. They're diving fast. Kingsley pulls the Mustang into a high-speed turn, the aircraft slicing through the thin air with almost unnatural smoothness. He sees it. This is no longer the underpowered machine he mocked on the runway. This is a different creature entirely. A predator meant for this sky. The Germans realize something is wrong. Inside a Bf-109 cockpit, Oberleutnant Rau watches the Mustangs climb effortlessly to intercept his squadron. He curses under his breath. Impossible. They should not be at this altitude with that speed. His wingman shouts through the radio. These are not the old Mustangs. They're faster. Rau banks away, but a Mustang latches onto his tail instantly. He dives. It follows. He climbs. It follows. He rolls. It stays glued to him. This cannot be happening. But it is. The Luftwaffe has encountered something it did not expect. An American fighter that can match them. Chase them. Outclimb them. Outrange them. And, worst of all, escort the bombers all the way to Berlin and back. A change in the sky. Kingsley pulls out of another dive, breathing heavily. His goggles fog at the edges. Sweat trickles beneath his helmet. The bomber formation remains intact. For the first time in months, the Luftwaffe has been stopped before it could carve them apart. Elwood's voice crackles over the headset. Blue leader, the Germans are breaking off. Kingsley looks around. The enemy fighters are scattering, turning for home. He glances down at his fuel gauge. Still strong. He laughs softly. They can run if they want. We've got the fuel to chase them. He flies up beside a B-17, giving a wave to the gunner in the top turret. The gunner waves back, visibly relieved. Inside the bomber, crews who expected another massacre stare in disbelief at the sky around them. No holes in the formation. No missing aircraft. No smoke trails. The nightmare of unescorted missions is gone. Kingsley banks upward, joining the protective swarm of Mustangs, hovering over the bombers like loyal wolves guarding a pack. He clicks the radio. Blue leader to all flights. Escort mission successful. Continue to Berlin. There is a long pause in the radio chatter. Then someone says the sentence that will later be repeated in history books. These Mustangs, they changed everything. But the day isn't done. A message comes through command channels that sends a chill through every cockpit. The Luftwaffe is reorganizing. Something bigger is coming. Something the Mustangs have not faced yet. November 5th, 1943. 30 minutes from Berlin. 25,000 feet. The bombers drone steadily forward, engines vibrating the sky like a swarm of mechanical giants. From above, the formation looks like a metallic city moving through clouds, each aircraft holding its position with disciplined precision. Kingsley wipes frost from his canopy. The temperature outside is brutal. -40 at this altitude. He adjusts his oxygen mask. Blue leader to all escorts. Stay sharp. Enemy command knows we're coming. Elwood checks his 6. Feels too quiet. Kingsley glances down. The bombers look peaceful, almost serene, sunlight glinting off their silver wings. But serenity has no place in German airspace. Radio static crackles. Then a chilling report. Multiple enemy groups lifting from central Germany. At least 200 fighters. Kingsley stiffens. 200. The Luftwaffe is not attacking to defend. They are attacking to crush. He takes a breath. All escorts tighten formation. They're coming in waves. The first wave. Moments later, the sky ahead darkens. Dozens of tiny black dots appear. Then dozens more behind them. Then even more, emerging from the sun's glare like a swarm of angry hornets. Messerschmitts. Focke-Wulfs. Heavy twin-engined Zerstörer fighters. Elwood whispers into the mic. Oh hell, that's their whole sector. Kingsley steadies himself. This is it. This is where they finally test us. The German fighters descend with terrifying speed, sunlight flashing off their wings, engines screaming through the thin air. Kingsley banks left. Pick your targets. Keep them off the bombers. He pushes the Mustang into a dive. The Merlin engine surges smoothly, never losing breath, never choking at altitude, never failing. Just as Leland promised. He lines up on a FW-190, pulls the trigger. The Mustang's guns hammer out bright streaks of fire. The German rolls violently to escape, but Kingsley's aircraft matches the movement perfectly. This new Mustang can dance with anything. The FW-190 bursts into flame and spirals downward, leaving a trail of thick smoke. But the Luftwaffe expected them. A new formation of German fighters accelerates from above. A trap. Kingsley jerks the stick as tracers whip past his canopy. 3 Bf-109s dive straight at him. Elwood shouts. They're bracketing you. Kingsley rolls hard. The Mustang slices through the sky, trailing thin vapor arcs. He pulls up sharply. The Merlin roars. The Mustang climbs steeply, leaving the German fighters struggling to match it. One overshoots. Kingsley flips onto his tail. Got you. He fires. The 109 disintegrates in a burst of debris. The other two break away, regrouping. Elwood's voice comes again, strained. They're throwing too many at us. Every time we clear one wave, another appears. Kingsley scans the horizon. The Luftwaffe is coming from every direction. Climbing. Diving. Circling. Attacking in coordinated swarms. This is not a typical interception. This is desperation. A full-force attempt to stop the American bombers before they reach Berlin. Mustang. After Mustang steps in. A Mustang from the 354th Fighter Group rockets upward beside Kingsley, guns blazing. It cuts clean through a group of incoming Germans, scattering them. Another Mustang dives past, chasing a Bf-110 heavy fighter that tried to flank the bombers. A third Mustang streaks overhead, engines howling as it climbs straight into a diving FW-190. It is chaos. Controlled. Coordinated. Deadly. The sky has become a swirling cage of metal, fire, and vapor. And through it all, the Mustangs stay close to the bombers. Kingsley speaks through gritted teeth. Hold the line. No German gets through. He sees it now. The promise. The potential. The truth. The Mustang is no longer a machine to mock. It is the shield every bomber has been praying for since the war began. A dangerous moment. Then something happens that makes Kingsley's stomach twist. A German heavy fighter breaks through. A Messerschmitt Me 410. Fast. Twin-engined. Brutal firepower. It heads straight for the lead B-17. If it reaches firing distance, it will rip through the bomber with 20mm cannons. Kingsley's voice cracks. "Elwood with me! We cannot let that one get close." He shoves the throttle to the limit. The Mustang leaps forward. But the Me 410 is fast. Faster than they expected. It closes on the bomber. Closer. Closer. A top turret gunner opens fire, but the German fighter is still coming. Kingsley whispers, "Come on. Come on." He lines up the shot. Fires. But the Me 410 jukes sideways. The Mustang's rounds miss by inches. Elwood dives in from above, firing short bursts. The German fighter rolls, avoiding both of them. Kingsley curses. He's locking onto the bomber. The Me 410's nose tilts upward. It is about to fire. Kingsley pushes the Mustang into a steep dive, pulling so many Gs his vision blurs. He has one chance. One shot. He steadies the crosshairs. And just as the Me 410 opens fire on the bomber, Kingsley fires first. The Mustang's 6 guns tear into the German fighter. The Me 410 erupts into flames and spirals into the clouds below. The B-17 crew cheers through the radio. "You angels, you just saved our skins." Kingsley exhales shakily. "Elwood, status." Elwood answers, breathing hard. "I'm here, still with you." Kingsley nods in relief. But the battle isn't over. Far in the distance, a new shape rises into view. Bigger. Heavier. Faster, something the Luftwaffe has held back until now. Kingsley's breath catches. "What is that?" Elwood's voice trembles. "Leader, that's no fighter. That's something else." A shadow falls across the clouds, and the Mustangs are about to face their most dangerous enemy yet. 30 miles from Berlin. Altitude 24,000 feet. The sky grows darker as a massive shadow emerges from behind a wall of clouds. At first, it looks like a bomber. Then the wings become clearer, thicker, sharper. The engine noise is deeper, heavier, vibrating the air like a distant storm. Kingsley narrows his eyes. That isn't a standard fighter. Elwood's voice cracks. "It's a Me 262? No, impossible. Too early for jets." The silhouette breaks fully into view, and Kingsley feels a cold pinch in his chest. Good God! It's a Me 410 with heavy armor upgrades. A modified variant. Faster engines. Heavier cannons. Built specifically to rip through bomber formations. Behind it, another dozen move into formation. The Luftwaffe is throwing its last coordinated reserve into the fight. Elwood whispers. This is their hammer strike. Kingsley steadies himself. Then with a shield. The German breakthrough attempt. The lead Me 410 dives straight toward the center of the bomber formation, cannons glowing as they warm for a long burst. P-17 gunners open fire, but their rounds bounce off reinforced armor plates. "Blue leader to all escorts," Kingsley shouts. "Cut them off, now!" He yanks his Mustang into a high-speed intercept. The Merlin engine bellows with raw power as the Mustang surges forward. Kingsley feels the G-force crush against his ribs, but he holds the line. The German twin-engine fighter locks onto the lead bomber, drifting into firing alignment. The B-17 crew sees it too. Inside the bomber, the radio operator calls out. "He's aiming at us." Kingsley whispers. "Not today." The clash. He dives in from above, guns blazing. His tracers carve a bright line across the Me 410's fuselage, but the armor holds. Sparks spray into the air like fireworks. The German pilot reacts instantly, dropping altitude and rolling toward the bomber. Kingsley follows, pushing the Mustang to its absolute limit. Elwood dives beside him, firing a burst. It's not enough. The armor's too thick. Kingsley forces the Mustang into a tighter turn than physics should allow. The frame groans. The wings flex. The Merlin keeps pulling. The Me-410 levels out, gun ports glowing orange, as it prepares to fire a full burst into the B-17. Kingsley grits his teeth. One chance. He lines up on the exposed starboard engine of the German fighter. Not the cockpit. Not the fuselage. The weak spot. He fires. A full stream of .50 caliber fire punches into the engine. The Me-410 shudders. Smoke pours out. Flames lick across the nacelle. The German tries to pull up. Too late. The Me-410 bursts into a fireball and spirals downward, burning across the sky. The B-17 crew cheers through the radio. He got him. He got him. Kingsley doesn't celebrate. He looks ahead. More incoming. 10 more Me-410s push through the cloud bank. This is the final wall. The Luftwaffe's last serious attempt to break the bomber line. And the Mustangs rise to meet them. The last stand in the cold blue. What follows is not a dogfight. It is controlled chaos with the precision of a chess match played at 400 mph. Mustangs dive and climb in perfect arcs. German fighters press in with desperate ferocity. Machine gun tracers paint streaks across the sky like angry comets. A Mustang from the 357th swings into a German fighter's tail and fires, sending it spinning into the clouds below. Another Mustang defends a bomber by tearing a Me-410 apart in a head-on pass. Kingsley and Elwood fight side by side, weaving through German fire like twin blades of steel. The bombers continue forward, untouched. Each mile takes them closer to Berlin. Each minute is a victory. Each German fighter destroyed is one less threat to the thousands of men in the bomber formation. The Luftwaffe breaks. Finally, the German formations begin to scatter. Fuel running low. Ammunition nearly gone. Morale shattered. A German pilot radios his command in a desperate tone. Cannot break escort line. The American fighters, they do not tire. They peel away, one by one. And for the first time in the war, the bombers see what they once thought impossible. The Luftwaffe turning back. Retreating. Leaving the sky to the Mustangs. Kingsley lets out a long breath. Blue leader to all fighters, escort successful. Elwood laughs, exhausted. We actually did it. We made it to Berlin. Kingsley smiles inside his mask. No, the Mustangs did. The moment that changed history. As the bombers continue their run toward Berlin, Kingsley looks down at the shimmering shapes below. 10,000 men, flying into enemy territory, protected by a fighter that didn't even exist a year ago. A fighter that British pilots mocked. A fighter the Americans doubted. A fighter that only came alive when given the right heart. And today, that heart beats louder than the Luftwaffe. Kingsley speaks quietly into the radio. To Captain Leland, wherever you are, you were right. Way back on that foggy morning at Duxford, no one believed a Mustang could fly this far, this high, with this much strength. But now it has just escorted bombers all the way to Berlin. The Mustang, once dismissed as a joke, has become the very weapon the war needed. A weapon born of collaboration, of ingenuity, of defiance, a weapon that turned mockery into awe. And from this day on, the Luftwaffe will never again own the sky.